Sorry. Today's learning goal is I can find missing angles that are intersected by a transversal. As I mentioned before, geometry is a lot of vocabulary. So you can see here, let's start with that. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that don't intersect. So you can think of tracks on a railroad that go on forever and ever and they don't intersect. Here's a picture of two parallel lines. The next vocabulary word we're going to talk about today is something called a transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more parallel lines. So here you can see an example of a transversal. You can think of a transversal like this does happen on railroad tracks, how they do intersect slightly when they're changing lanes. Let's continue with some vocabulary. The first one we're going to talk about is something called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are in the same position but on a different line. Go together. Corresponding. Do you see any other corresponding angles? Well, if you said B and F, that's correct. If you said C and G, D and H, those are also correct. Corresponding angles. Another important vocabulary is consecutive interior angles. We're also called this same side interior. Notice how they lie on the inside of both parallel lines and on the same side. So D and F are same side interior angles. Can you think of any other same side interior angles? Well, if you said C and E, you were correct. Another important vocabulary word we're going to talk about today is alternate exterior angles. If you look at the parallel lines intersected by the transversal here, you'll see that they lie on the outside of the parallel lines and they're on opposite sides. Alternate, opposite, exterior, outside. A and H are alternate exterior angles. Can you see any other alternate exterior angles here? B and G are also alternate exterior angles. As I mentioned, geometry is a lot of vocabulary. Let's continue with the vocabulary. Alternate interior angles. Notice how with alternate interior angles, the angles lie on the inside and on opposite sides. Because alternate means opposite and interior means inside. So C and F are alternate interior angles. Do you spot any other alternate interior angles? D and E are also alternate interior angles. So here we have two parallel lines intersected by a transversal, and let's start by making the degrees for our two parallel lines here. So this angle here on the inside is going to be 50. Notice how it's an acute angle. And let's say this one is 130 degrees. Alright, so now let's start filling in what we know about these angles. Now if you don't believe me, you can flip this around like this. And you can measure this angle here and see that that's 50. And then that's going to be 130. Okay. So we have 130, 130, 50, and 50. So let's figure out what this angle here is. Well, that's also 130, and this is also going to be 50. Okay, that's 50 here. Well, that looks a lot like that angle there, and that's also 50. And let's see, so that's 50, and that's 130. Okay. So now that we have all of our angles measured, we have the degrees in there, we're going to begin to name our angles. Alright, so let's see, let's start with alternate interior angles. Actually, let's start with corresponding angles. So we have corresponding angles are in the same position but different line. So here I have a corresponding angle and a corresponding angle. And I'm going to indicate it over here with the key that this is same position, different line. Okay, and then I'll mark this with a circle, a pink circle there. Any other corresponding angles you see here? Okay, I see here and here, so I'll mark that with a star. Star. Another corresponding angle is 130 and 130. I'll do a smiley face, pink smiley face, pink smiley face. And there's one more pair of corresponding angles, which we want to indicate with a square. Like that. Now let's move to alternate interior angles. Key here, which are on the inside, which lie on the inside of the transversal, inside, and on opposite sides. So we have alternate interior. We'll indicate that with the color blue. So alternate, we'll have, these are alternate interior angles here, as are these angles here. Let's look at alternate exterior angles now. Alternate exterior angles. So alternate exterior angles, here's an alternate exterior angle, and here is an alternate exterior angle. Lies on the outside of the parallel lines and on opposite sides. Here is an alternate exterior angle. Here also is an alternate exterior angle. And I'll indicate that on my key over here. The last one we're going to talk about is same side interior, also called consecutive interior. Same side interior is going to be green. So we have green and green, same side interior. And we have green and green. Couple important notes here. Same side interior angles equal 180. Notice how it's a straight line. But all these other ones here, they're all congruent. See? They're the same. They're the same. They're all the same. Now that we've practiced a few of those and we kind of drew our notes into that, I'm going to grab this here and we're going to just practice naming angles. Okay, so what would you name this angle here? Same side, same position, different line. Oh, it's corresponding. That's a corresponding angle. Corresponding angle. Opposite sides, and on the outside, let's see, opposite sides, and oh, that would be an alternate, and we'll abbreviate for AI. AE, alternate exterior. And number 3, let's see, so they are on the inside. This one and this one, so that has to be a corresponding angle. Same side and on the inside. Same side interior. SSI. On the inside and on opposite sides. Inside and opposite sides. No, I didn't. It's right there. Alternate interior. So this is alternate interior. And then 6 was, what do you think? I'll just do AE, alternate exterior. Let's do a couple more examples. So instead of just naming angles, we're going to actually say what the degrees are too. So let's do a green pen. So if this is 110 here, what is that angle equal? It's going to be 110. And it is going to be on the outside and opposite sides. I see that is the orange star, so that's going to be AE, alternate exterior. On the inside and on opposite sides, maybe at this point I have it memorized already, but I see the blue dots are opposite each other, and that is alternate interior, AI. And those are congruent, so it'll be 84. Number 13, we have 100 here. It's on the same side. That would be green. Same side interior. Same side interior. And I put 1 equals 180, so that means this has to be 80. On the inside and on opposite sides. So inside and okay, the blue dots, which is alternate interior, AI, and they're congruent, so that'll both be 111. Opposite sides, again, and the inside, AI, 111. And let's do one more. Opposite sides and on the inside, AI, and 113. So today you learned how to find missing angles that are intersected by a transversal.